We've got magazine cards. We've got wrestling cards from possibly the most overproduced and possibly the most popular wrestling card set of all time. We've got PSA slab. We've got Shady autograph grading technique. We've got a one-of-one card, and what is, at this point, probably the greatest wrestling card set of all time. But the focus around all these today is going to be about philosophy. Stick around for this video to find out exactly how I'm wrapping philosophy into all of these cards that I've spoke of. This is the Wrestling Card Market Watch for September 2021. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards, and it's another Market Watch video. I do these each and every month, just looking at some sales from the past month, some interesting cards that have popped up that may be rare. They may not be rare at all, which you're going to see some in this video today of cards that aren't really rare, but yet people are still buying them. But if this is the first time stopping by my channel, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you're going to enjoy this video or any of my other videos. And if you are, great, awesome. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, greatly appreciated. However, if you're watching this and you're already a subscriber to my channel or my podcasts or any other social platform I'm on and you follow me, greatly appreciated for your continued support. Thanks for sticking around. And give me a... Too sweet! As always, before we get started, just a few quick reminders of how you can help support my content. Links in the show notes to everything I'm going to mention. Links to my podcast, Worlds Collide, with Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com, as well as the Wrestling with Cards podcast, which is kind of a companion piece to these videos. There's also links below to my Spotify account if you want to check out some cool music. Watch out for some cool, curated, interesting playlist with some other wrestling card collectors out there. Links to all my social platforms if you would like to follow me on whatever platform you operate on. Links to ways you can help support my content monetarily. Keep this stuff going. There are costs that go into doing the videos and doing audio for your viewing and listening pleasure. So to help support that, I've got an eBay store set up. A lot of that money will go to costs involved with producing the content. Links below to Patreon if you'd like to become a member of the Wrestling with Cards Patreon community, where you could get your name mentioned in the credits. Shout out to the patrons. You'll see that at the end of this video with the credits. And there's other ways you can help support through Patreon. There's different prices and tiers. You can get involved with the show. Also, links below to if you want to buy me a coffee. I just woke up recording this. You know there's coffee involved. Iced coffee, to be exact. Always iced coffee for me. Here we have 3 random 1991 WCW Impel cards, specifically one of Elegante and 2 Missy Hyatt cards. Each of them is separate listing. They sold for 99 cents with free shipping. So why in the world would I pick these Impel cards? Nobody really wants these cards, right? Right? Well, apparently they do. I'm pretty sure everybody in the hobby, I don't care what you're collecting, whether it's comic books, whether it's 90s sports cards, whether it's modern sports cards, chances are you are familiar with these wrestling cards because you see them everywhere. These cards are from the 1991 WCW Impel set, but we've recently discovered that this may in fact be called the Stomp Collection. More on that and some more deep dives into this set on a video that I'm working on that will come out next month on my channel per a request of a Patreon member. Again, if you have a video request, go ahead and head over the links below to my Patreon page where you can join the community at the mid-carder tier and request a video each month. Many in the wrestling card community often joke that this 1991 WCW Impel Stomp, whatever you want to call it, this set is still being produced to this day. There's that many of them out there. And there's a little bit of a rumor come out recently that in fact Tony Vella's world famous storage unit, where you can find all kinds of treasures, may in fact have the printing presses that these are being made on. So I really just pulled these 3 cells to kind of prove a point. Many people would probably say people don't have any interest in these wrestling cards from this overproduced 1991 set. It's just like sports junk wax errors produced right in the same time, and that stuff is all over the place. No one's interested in that. They don't have any autos in this set. They don't have any chase cards. Well, I guess if you want to count the Sting hologram that I've talked about quite a bit. Some people have said they've pulled those from packs. Others say they're case hits. I think the jury's still kind of out on those. Maybe it's both, but I digress. People clearly still have interest in these cards, and I think it's for a few different reasons. First off, it just screams nostalgia. The card design itself is the most 90s thing I've probably ever seen. Most people are very familiar with it, and it just brings back nostalgia. You know, maybe they grew up watching WCW in this era, and we have to remember that nostalgia is a major reason why people still collect cards, action figures, comic books, vinyl records, you name it. Nostalgia drives collectability. Not to mention the design itself has been, I will say, copied. I won't say ripped off. Oh wait, I just said it. For other indie wrestling card sets, The set also features all of the top names that were in WCW during the early 90s. Not to mention, most of the cards in this set and the sets in general are cheap and plentiful. So a lot of people out there complaining, I'm priced out of the hobby, I can't rip anything. There's still packs, singles, obviously the singles are cheap, and there are sealed boxes still out there that are very affordable. You could still find these for, $50 shipped or less. Now that may seem like a lot, but considering what you get in them and kind of the fun nostalgic rip, you could also potentially grade these. I've talked about that before. A lot of people in the past have looked for fresh pack pull cards to send a PSA. Maybe you go the SGC route, or maybe you go HGA or Pure Graded X or CSG, another company that will get them back to you quicker. But I'm just saying that that's a possibility if you're still looking for a fun rip that's on a budget, but to still maybe make your money back and get some cool cards at the same time. I think this set has some interesting crossover appeal as well, because like I said, everybody has seen these cards at some point, whether it's the junk wax at the flea market, packs thrown in at a card show somewhere. Maybe at your LCS, there's a dime box and there's some of these cards thrown in there. Most people have seen these cards, again, as I said, no matter what segment of the hobby you are in. And could that potentially bring some people into wrestling cards? I think so. I think this could be a really good gateway set for some crossover appeal with sports card fans, comic book fans, toy collectors. And come on, it's just a fun set. Remember, I said nostalgia drives a lot of collecting, and that's fun. Remembering moments in time, remembering when you first got a certain card. Maybe you're putting specific sets together of an era that you loved or grew up in. Maybe you're curating the ultimate Ric Flair PC. I don't have that, but I'd like to start working on it. Not to mention, one of my favorite Ric Flair cards is in this set. And just remember, to a lot of people that collect for nostalgia and the love of it, the value really doesn't matter. We've often heard, what do you do if your card goes to zero? Here's a prime example. Maybe they don't care because they're having fun with it. Again, nostalgia. And proving the point that you can still have fun on the cheap, even if you're priced out of modern or you can't find it. 2007 WWE Topps Heritage Chrome BGS 10 Auto, Shawn Michaels, $149.99. However, a best offer of $120 was accepted. So there are a few things I want to talk about with this card. First being, let's look at the price. $120 for a HBK auto seems pretty cheap to me. Obviously, most of the factory certified autos that you can get in packs or boxes, they're going to go for more than the hand-signed cards. But wrestling fans love anything signed, and I think there's a potential to make some money here. So here we have a random base card and a random set. Let's say you go to a signing, have the card signed on card. You then send it to an authentication company, regardless of which company you choose, and then flip it. Now, of course, I'm not a financial advisor, and I would definitely encourage you to put in the time and the effort and the math to see if this would be worth your time to do that, and if there's profit to be made. But again, it's just an idea. But the real thing I want to touch on with this card specifically is grading the autograph, but not grading the card. I've also seen some PSA slabs like this recently, where they'll have the autograph graded in the same spot you would normally see a grade on a card, but the card is just authentic. But the autograph is also authenticated. I think people are doing just what I suggested. Getting a base card, having it signed, grading it authenticated, flipping it. Now, I could be wrong here, but what I think they're trying to do with these specific auto grade only cards, honestly, is trying to get over on some inexperienced collectors or people that are new into the hobby. Everyone knows if you see a 10 on one of those slab labels, it's a gem mint condition, right? So I'm thinking that these people are thinking, hey, if I get a grade on this and this autograph looks really good, maybe I can get a 10 on it. The card might not grade but like a 6, so if I just get the auto, it'll have that 10 on that label. And then I can list it online, or I can put it in my showcase at the local card show and put comps the same as a PSA or BGS 10. Now, obviously, most of us who have been doing this for a while, we can easily spot these if you're paying enough attention to the label. But honestly, I'm dumbfounded sometimes at people's lack of attention to detail. Kind of a sidebar, but it relates to what I'm talking about here, is that sometimes I will get DMs or ats on whatever social platform, and people have a question about a specific card or a specific set or some sort of philosophy in the hobby that I've actually done a whole video on or talked about on a podcast. So then I will copy and paste the link to said podcast or video to help them get that information. And then they'll reply with, "Bro, I didn't even know you had a podcast or a YouTube channel." Now, I'm not saying that people's lives should revolve around my content and know who I am because I'm famous or something. Not at all. In fact, I'm grateful for everybody watching right now and everyone who continues to watch. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. But if you guys follow me on social platforms, you see how much I post my content, links to the content, talking about the content. And you honestly probably get sick and tired of my self-promotion sometimes. But again, I'm going back to talking about that with this card and people's lack of attention to detail. Just, they don't care to pay attention and understand what they're looking at or what they're viewing. I could see somebody looking at this card at a show or on eBay and saying, oh, it's a 10. That means it's the best condition I can get. I don't see this card pop up very much, so I'm just going to buy it whatever the cost is. And then they get it and they wonder why it's not what they thought it was. They clearly didn't read the label properly, or potentially they have just taken too many chair shots to the head. But again, lack of attention to detail happens way more than you think. Another aspect of this card I'll tackle really quick is hand-signed autos. I've talked about it in previous episodes, and I also talked about it at the beginning of this section of the card that I was talking about today. Wrestling fans love autographs. They love action figures. They love 8x10s. They love wrestling cards. Ring-used memorabilia that can be signed that has blood all over it or whatever. Wrestling fans are crazy for autographs and signed memorabilia. And that's something to keep in mind with wrestling cards that is different than the sports card hobby that we know of. You know, baseball, basketball, football. Most collectors in those genres of the hobby, they want the certified auto pack pullable cards. And again, it's just an aspect of wrestling cards that makes it different than the other types of collectible cards out there. So again, I think taking base cards, getting them signed, authenticated in a slab by a reputable grading company is a great idea to add these to your collection. Maybe it starts a new PC of hand-signed cards. Maybe it's a great way for you to flip these into, you know, a 1985 Hogan PSA 9 if you can find one. Or whatever it is that you collect that you're just trying to level up to get that big, expensive card that maybe you don't want to just shell out the cash for right now. Again, put in the work ahead of time before you start doing this if this is something you wanted to do. Make sure that the numbers are going to make sense from a financial standpoint for you. But above all, don't be a shady seller. I don't understand why people would just grade the auto. They're clearly trying to trick people, in my opinion. Just get the card graded, or if you don't want it graded, just get the autograph authenticated so people know what they're buying and you're not taking advantage of anyone. 2017 Topps Undisputed Ultimate Warrior Red 1 of 1, PSA 10, $499.99. However, a best offer of $350 was accepted. You guys know I love the Ultimate Warrior. So here we have a PSA 10 card of his. PSA 10, Cadillac Grading Company is the best grade you can get. This card is also a 1 of 1. Very sharp looking card in my opinion. So why did this card sell for such a little amount? If it had everything lining up for it from a traditional, I guess, value perspective that you would think of in trading cards. PSA 10, rare 1 of 1. Legend Superstar. Let's talk about it. With this card, I want to talk about 3 myths that I constantly see in the hobby. And that has to do with 1 of 1s, has to do with PSA 10s, and it has to do with specific cards of specific talent or superstars, and the demand for those cards. But Zhan, you've talked about before, aren't low-numbered, parallels, rare, scarce, iconic cards, aren't those supposed to be the ones you chase after? Those are the ones that are supposed to be the most valuable, the most sought after by collectors? Aren't the PSA 10s the most valuable cards in the world, regardless of what it is? Shouldn't we focus on legends of the past over modern prospecting? And shouldn't we focus on premium card sets, not just the factory-based stuff? Well, my friends, I think this card is a prime example of a learning lesson. First off, I think this answers the questions, should 1 of 1s be graded? This is a very common question I see a lot. People have 1 of 1s regardless of what it is or what genre of cards it is, wrestling or sports. And they'll often state, should I get this graded? Who should I send it to? What's going to get my most value? Well, clearly it doesn't even matter with this card. It got a PSA 10. The best grade you can get, again, in the Cadillac of grading company. Or should we now say Ferrari or Lamborghini of grading companies? I don't know. I think this also answers a question of just because something is low pop or super rare or 1 of 1 doesn't necessarily mean that it's extremely valuable. Sure, rare stuff, low pop stuff, in general, that's the best stuff to go after and hang on to, just due to the low numbers of production or availability. But guys, none of that matters if there's no demand for the talent, the name on the card, or the card set. I think that's the case with the Ultimate Warrior here, unfortunately. Sure, he has a ton of fans, again, myself being one of them, huge Warrior fan. But due to the fact that he's made some comments outside of wrestling that weren't exactly politically correct, and he wasn't exactly an in-ring technician, which a lot of modern fans like work rate, he doesn't have quite that fan base that you would expect. Although, to play devil's advocate, let's look at Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and others that have said or done things in the past that have recently come to light and not in a favorable manner, and yet some of those cards just continue to climb in value with no stopping in sight. I don't know, wrestling card market is wild. 1996, WWF Magazine, Triple H, or should I say Hunter Hearst Helmsley, PSA 10, $3,100. However, a best offer of $850 was accepted. With this card, I want to talk about, once again, the rookie card debate, how the market sees that, and I also want to talk about why did this person accept an offer for a third of what the initial listing price was. Let's start off with the rookie card debate. You all know the drill. What's the rookie card to buy? Which one is the true rookie card? Which rookie card should I invest in? So to my knowledge, what I could find with research, this is the highest selling Triple H card that I've seen. From a price point perspective, this one beats out all other cards from Triple H that many consider to be rookie cards, such as the 1995 magazine card, 1997 Cardinal Gaming card, 1997 magazine card, 1997 Panini sticker, 1998 comic images. The only one we may not exactly be able to compare fairly with that is the 1995 Panini, which I did a whole video on that set with Paul and Ann. You can go check that out there. And the reason it may not be a good comparison there is because those cards are just so rare, you hardly ever see them for sale. So sometimes that hurts the value because people aren't able to obtain it. You may also be saying, Zhan, you're an idiot. 1995 comes before 1996. Therefore, the earlier card is the rookie card. And some of you may just think I'm an idiot anyway, but hey, thanks for watching the content, and thanks for @ing me on social media. But I want to compare this argument to Hulk Hogan, Michael Jordan, Mickey Mantle. All three of these names have cards that came out after their first card that the market has deemed those are the cards that are the key iconic cards to own. 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Hulk Hogan, 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan, 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. All of those cards were not those guys' first cards, yet those are the cards that people want. Now, I've stated this on previous videos and previous podcasts, previous interviews, which again, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Go back and check out all of my archives. But I've often been a fan of the David Peck approach. Just buy everything you can. Buy them all if you can. Create your own little mutual fund of rookie cards. That way, if one of them goes off, kind of supplements all the others. You're not missing out. As opposed to if you're just trying to go after one specific card and the market hasn't exactly settled on one yet, then you could pick the wrong card and miss out. No matter what the market decides, you'd be covered in this situation. But apparently the market has spoken on this card specifically. A couple other things I want to point out about it. Let's look at the grade. A PSA 10 on a perforated card, that's amazing. From what I've seen with the perforated cards, that's almost next to impossible to get. I also want to point out that this card actually has sold for more than some of his autograph cards, which I just talked about autograph cards and how popular they are earlier in this video with wrestling fans. So to have this card outsell a autograph card, it's really kind of shocking to me. And now let's look at the pricing structure of this listing. This one is more straightforward to me, and it may be that way because I sell on eBay so much, so I just kind of understand a logic perspective. Regardless of what card you're listing, it is your card to list for the price that you want to list it at. Regardless of what anybody else says, oh, well this one sold for this, it should be this price, or you've got that too low, it should be way higher. Whether it's listing a card that you own, that may be the most common card in the world, and you want to list it at $1 million because you just want to show it off as a museum piece, you have a right to do that. Or reason being of listing it at such a high price that it probably won't sell is for that life-changing money. Basically saying, hey, I don't want to sell this card, but I've got it at this price, and this price would be life-changing money to me. So if you are willing to pay this price for this card, you can have it. I personally also like to list mid to higher end cards. You know, if I've got $1, $3, $5 cards, I will usually list those at comps or just below. But again, the mid to high end stuff, I actually like to list it way over comps. That way it gives me a little room to negotiate. So if somebody sees stuff I have available on eBay, which again, link to my eBay store in the show notes, don't forget to check that out. It gives me some room to negotiate with them if they're seeing multiple items they want. I could come down on the price and put together a package deal for them. Or maybe they see something I post on Twitter or Instagram and they're like, hey, I'd like to buy that. Again, higher the price, you can go lower. But if you list a certain item to end at a certain time for an auction, it may not work out the best for you. It may end in a weird time. It may end when, say, the collector that wants that specific card doesn't have the funds at that point. So you then have to take a lesser bid, as opposed to just being able to keep those diamond hands, keep it listed at whatever it is. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's still yours. 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Complete Set, Series A, $9,500. Okay, I know. We all know about the All-Star set. And at this point, again, it's probably the most popular and sought-after wrestling card set in existence. The 1952 Topps Baseball. The 1986 Fleer Basketball of wrestling cards. So why in the world would I pick a sale of something that seems like it's common knowledge to most people? It's honestly, to prove a point about spending money. The train has left the station, so to speak, on these All-Stars cards. And while I'm making that argument, I'll also include the 1983 wrestling card set in this as well. All of the cards in this set, no matter what it is, they just keep climbing. Slowly but surely. Even down to the most common jobber names in this set that are beat up in poor condition. It's funny, I often see people say, oh, I missed the boat on the All-Stars. I'm priced out. There's no way I could ever own those. Meanwhile, those same people complaining are the ones that are ripping whatever the most recent WWE product is and complaining about, oh, I got bad autos or I didn't get good parallels. Or they're the ones that are going after AEW product on pre-order and complaining, the pre-orders on these are way too high, I can't afford it, I'm priced out. Meanwhile, they could have looked at the 1982-83 All-Stars, maybe bought a couple of those raw. Maybe they bought one graded, maybe two graded, depending on the grade, depending on the talent. So then you may be thinking, Zhan, I didn't grow up in the 80s. I don't know any of these lame 80s wrestlers that would put on a headlock for 15 minutes. Or I don't like the cards. They're not fun. They're not shiny. They're not parallel. They don't have a refractor finish. Now, those are very valid arguments. And if that is your take, and you like ripping the product or shiny cards, hey, I cannot argue that. That is 100% an accurate take if that's the way you collect. But if you like wrestling history, or you grew up watching wrestling at the time of the early to mid 80s when these cards were produced, or you're just a fan of key iconic cards in the history of the hobby, I don't understand why you're not trying to make a play on some of these. It's one of the few times that I may in fact say that it's an investment to buy into these cards. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, just an entertaining opinion here. But I really compare these cards to vintage baseball. Specifically, let's look at Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Honus Wagner. Some of the names have brought astronomical numbers to their cards that we've seen go to auction. The interesting thing here is that most of the people that are paying these ridiculous high numbers, millions, for these Mantles, the Ruth, the Wagner, they didn't watch them play. They didn't grow up collecting their cards. They want them because it's a flex. They understand the historical value of it. They understand the work of art that some of these cards have become. So I'm just saying that it's something to think about. And, you know, here we have a sale, $9,500. For many in the wrestling card community, that might be just an astronomical price to pay for any wrestling card, especially ones in raw condition, even though it's a complete set. But I may also play devil's advocate here and say, $9,500 in 10 years might seem like goodwill pricing compared to what it could be at that time. Just saying. Thanks everybody for watching the video today. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out all the archives of my previous content. Make sure to check the links below in the show notes to everything else I'm involved with, podcasts, Patreon, links to my eBay store, links to social platforms. Share this with a friend. Let's get it out there. Let's get more people talking about wrestling cards. And until next time, click the videos right there on the screen for more great wrestling card content. We'll see you next time.